think single agent vibe coding has already hit this sort of wall. Not because the models are bad, but because the tools are bad. And honestly, not even because the context windows are too small. I think the wall is sort of structural, because here's what I think a lot of people do is we sort of open up Codex, Claude Code, Cursor, whatever your poison is. We paste in some prompt and then put together a plan, build me this thing, continue with the plan, fix the test, explain the bug, polish the UI. Also, don't break anything. And then we watch like one poor, sort of overly whelmed single agent try to be your staff engineer, your junior dev, your QA person, your docs reader, your project manager, all at the same time. And last week I took a look at Claude Code teams, and it kind of worked. There wasn't a lot of control, which is probably my biggest feedback for that. And it did work. But let me just talk about the problem. Your docs, your project manager, all at the same time, and it kind of works until it doesn't. Until the thread's sort of full of garbage, the terminal output, the stack traces, the plans, random sort of exploration notes, 3 different directions the agent started and abandoned, a build log that nobody can figure out, and the actual requirement that was buried like 600 messages ago. And then people say, well, I guess the model wasn't good enough. But then I think that's the wrong sort of diagnosis. I think single agent coding has sort of become the same bottleneck to how single threaded builds became a bottleneck. It's not that the work is impossible, it's that you're sort of forcing one worker to serially juggle a bunch of jobs that should probably have never lived in the same brain in the first place. Last week we talked about Claude Code teams, and today I want to talk about Codex subagents or multi-agents. I'm not entirely sure. I've probably underserved Codex overall when doing this. I think it's really, really easy to get enamored by the joys, I would just say, of just how much thought and attention, frankly, Claude has got over the last couple of months, to say the least. So this isn't necessarily an AI team, and it's not necessarily marketed like that. It's not some sort of abstract future of work. It's actually sort of product behavior that's live in Codex right now, and why I think this is sort of potentially some of the first multi-agent coding story that feels more practical than sort of fake. And then we're going to do the only thing that matters. We're going to sort of let it loose on this like video planning tool today, not some polished SaaS app, not a benchmark, just a sort of a rough tool for generating some ways for me to help put together some videos. And the point of the demo is sort of simple. Can a parent agent split the work, clean the lanes, let specialist agents handle their own piece of work, and come back with something that's sort of coherent, faster than having sort of one giant agent do yes? I think that's going to happen. I think we can. I think it's. I'm confident in this, but when you're doing things live, who even knows at this point? And I think once you see it, going back to sort of one agent for everything is going to feel really, really slow. So before I begin, let's ground this in sort of what the docs say. So on the official Codex sub-agent documentation that I have right here, the most important point is that this is not some sort of hidden prompt hack. Current Codex releases have sub-agent workflows sort of enabled by default. That matters because I think a lot of AI tooling demos are basically, well, if you install this plugin and this set of 6 skills and 6 environment variables and a YAML file and a spell in your terminal, it may work. Second point is that Codex only spawns these subagents when you ask it to do so. I think this is a pretty good design decision, because when you automatically fan out to multiple agents, that sounds super cool in a keynote, but frankly just like horrible potentially in real life. For example, if I ask for a quick fix, I don't want the tool to decide to spawn several agents to go work when I just need something like pretty simple changed. So I think that's important. The docs are sort of specific. You ask for subagents, you ask it to delegate in parallel, you say use one agent per point, and Codex will go do that. Third, this is currently surfaced in the Codex app and CLI, and the docs say IDE extension visibility is coming soon. So if you're watching this, well, why haven't we seen this in? Why don't you see the exact same thing? That's why. And fourth, the docs also say that subagent workflows consume more tokens. Good. Thank you for saying it plainly. I think we know that. But the whole point of this stream falls apart if we pretend that the parallel agents are sort of free. It's not free. You're paying for like this separate model, separate tool workflow, and the orchestration on top. But Codex has a great subscription that I think makes it pretty useful to use. So I'm probably going to start with my Codex subscription, and I haven't really got close to the limits, so we'll see what happens. The product promise isn't necessarily infinite free productivity. The promise is that when you work in parallel, specialized agents keep the main thread cleaner and get bounded by tasks. I think that's and honestly, I think it's just more, it's a more believable one that should hopefully work. Let's continue on this. So the concepts page of subagents has, in my opinion, the sort of more important part of this story. It says even when the large context window models have limits, if you flood the main conversation with sort of noisy intermediate outputs like exploration notes, tools, stack traces, command outputs, the session sort of gets less reliable over time. And this is typically called context rot. And the docs call this sort of context pollution as well. And I think these are good terms because I'm sure you felt this even if you never had language of it. You start this clean thread with an agent, you have a real goal. The agent goes and explores, it runs some tests, it dumps an error, it tries to fix the error, then it reads these files, then it changes the files, it changes its mind, it proposes sort of a different plan, then it reruns the test. That then based more logs, you interrupt it, then you add another requirement, then the model starts to get into this like weirdly hesitant or weirdly overconfident or just completely goes off task. And people often frame this as like, AI sucks. There's some mythical AI problem, but it's not mystical at all. I think you've sort of like thrashed the workspace. The docs basically say this. By the subagents help move this noisy work off the main thread, and you can sort of keep the main thread focused on requirements, decisions, and final outputs, and let the specialized workers do the exploration, tests, or log analysis in parallel, and then bring those summaries back instead of the sort of raw sludge that it may do if you try and do this all at once. So that's sort of the pitch, not the swarm of becoming conscious, not the agents collaborating like a real company. Just stop making your main thread carry every gross intermediate artifact from every single subtask. And once you sort of see it like that, the design becomes, I think, kind of obvious. Your main agent is sort of holding intent, and the subagents are there to do the bounded work and come back distilled. This is so much saner than the current work patterns where sort of one agent tries to both think, remember every detour it took. And this is why the docs also remain sort of starting with some read-heavy tasks like exploration, test, triage, and summarization, and being more careful with some of the more parallel write-heavy work. Because if two agents start spray painting basically at the same time, congratulations, you've reinvented merge conflicts with a token bill or just more time wasted. So I think the hot take here isn't really always use more agents. I think the hot take here is if your thread is tuned into a dumpster fire, the answer might not be a smarter single agent. The answer might be cleaner task boundaries as you're thinking about this work. Okay, so mechanically, what does Codex do? Codex handles this orchestration layer. It spawns new agents, routes, follow-up instructions, waits for these results, and closes agent threads when multiple agents are running. It waits until the request results are available and then sort of returns that. More like sort of coordinated delegation. Also, Codex ships with sort of these built-in agent tasks for default, worker, explorer, which is honestly, I think, what you want. You don't want 40 anime named personas out of the box. You need sort of a generalist, an execution-focused worker, and this read-heavy explorer. And I think that covers actually a ton of work for software today. Then if you want more control, apparently in the docs, you can add your own agents. We may get there today, we'll see. And each file, I think you need to name, description, and some sort of instructions. And then there's some optional stuff like model choice, reasoning, sandbox mode, nickname, and others. And I think this is sort of a clean mental model. You're not inventing a whole new orchestration platform. You're sort of specializing and spawning these workers to... You're not sort of inventing a whole new this orchestration platform. You're sort of building these like specialized spawnable workers. The docs also call out a few global settings like agents, max threads, max depth, which I think is sort of useful to give it some control to. Again, it's sort of grounded, seems practical, not necessarily mystical in what it's doing under the hood. It's also great that Codex is open source, so you can actually go see all this stuff, unlike the crazy decision that Anthropic has made to not make Claude Code open source. And I will not go into that here, but just like, it is crazy that it is not open source. The most unfriendly developer company building developer tools. I do not understand it. Okay, so there's also sandboxes, models, and some boring stuff that I think matters. So subagents are actually sandbox, which I think is super, super helpful. The models guidance is also sort of normal. The concepts are basically start with the latest and greatest GPT 5.4. You might want to use Mini when speed and lower cost matter for those light exploration tools. So it means that you're sort of you don't necessarily need to stop. There's this whole thing about pretending that every task needs the same reasoning budget, the same large model, and that is not the case, and you can coordinate this. You probably want the main coordinator to have a heavier model, but the doc scanning, maybe you can probably get away with a lighter model. Reviewer, maybe like higher reasoning. And, maybe we get to the part that I actually care about. Instead of talking about abstractions and build something dumb, because DOM internal tools are sort of where vibe coding either feels magical or fails on its face. So the tool I'm going to build today is a sort of rough video planning tool. You can think of this more like DaVinci Resolve. So we're going to build something sort of similar to that to help me plan. I can upload a image, a audio asset, and then I want to see on a timeline the ability to like see that transcript and like plan different shots around it. No auth, no billing, no sort of like random stuff, just sort of a small utility that would be useful to sort of build, which I think makes it sort of a great fit. Okay, so I'm going to jump over to my desk and let's give this a whirl to let's go ahead and get it started. All right, let's go to my desk. All right, we are back and we should be good. All right, so the first thing we're going to do here is go to, let me show you this project so you can kind of see it. So I have this like custom browser / coding tool that I use that I built, but let's jump and show you. So I have this thing right now. You can all right, so you can, I go to settings, I give it my API key. I'm gonna give it a company all hands thing that I have. I'm trying to do two things, so that does not work. Maybe corrupted. Wonderful. Okay, so I have some bug that I gotta go fix here. I'm using like some recorded audio in M4A format, so it's gonna have to like figure this out. And I figured it would be a good opportunity to use Codex or multi-agent to do this. So I think that's what we're going to go do. So we're going to build this tool. I am going to essentially ask it to use subagents, parallel subagents. And then I'm going to ask it to like spawn a bunch. So like, if I break this down twofold, firstly, I want it to be able to like handle these file imports. So we're going to do that first. Then we'll work on the UI and see sort of how it works, how these multi-agents work through the interface. I have this timer here. Again, I have some attention issues to say the least. So I'm going to set this at 25 minutes and we will see how far we get. All right. So what I like to do is if I go here, I'm in the repo. Let me clear this. And let's run Codex YOLO. We want it to work in here. So I have this skill called Grill Me that is a really simple skill. It basically does this. If I show you it, the skill dot skills. Or .codex .skills. Anyway, I am not going to show you that. When you go to when you use Grill Me, it basically just like repeatedly asks you a bunch of questions before you sort of land on a plan. So I'm going to ask it to fix an issue with adding an audio file. I get this user message, and this is from a what should we say? This is from a voice note saved on my iPhone and is available to inspect at downloads. Let me get the file here. what I want. A good thing to do with this is to select why this is important. It is important to get this format, to use this to get this working, as using voice notes on my phone is something I do frequently, and I want this experience to be great. So when I upload an M4A from my phone, it works as expected. I don't know why I'm typing this. I also have voice that I use, but I intermix between the two. As I'm talking a lot today, I think I'm going to lose my voice by the end of this. So yeah, I'm just going to keep cracking with this. All right. I come up with the weirdest words. Let's go. Okay. So I have these like session hooks. So Claude Codex comes with these hooks. Some of these hooks you can see here. So this has like the Codex state. It isn't the best for me, but it does sort of the job. So I find this like super helpful if I have like multiple things running at the same time. Yeah. So this is then going to like go look at the information, go read it. One interesting fact is that like everything that is built here so far was actually built by Claude Code, unfortunately. But I figured rather than give it a task for a new project, it may be better to sort of extend the project out and do something new than do something like from scratch, because like from scratch it's going to be able to like just take something with zero context, and the reality is that most people are working in code bases, or most people are using code in some way that like already exists. So I personally find it useful. What I've realized is that like I use this grill me and I didn't specify a personal agent, so I'm actually gonna like will I break it? I don't know. Let's see. So this is running right now. Actually, let's do something interesting. So I'm going to actually see if it asks me some different questions. So let me get here, make this bigger so folks can see it. Codex YOLO. And I'm going to ask the same question, but I'm going to say use parallel subagents to split out this work to do research. Spawn at least 5 subagents to work through this. Okay, we're going to see if it asks me the same questions. Okay, what targets should we plan when supporting the iPhone voice? I plan a browser independent fallback so normal uploads work fine in Safari. This is using WebKit, so I actually just want all the browsers. Kind of a weird question, to be honest, but okay, so on the right hand side here, this I've asked it to use an agent. We'll see what happens here and where it goes. I have it on extra high and also fast. Okay, so for the fix, what should the outcome success be? Load transcripts the waveform. Yes. So this takes an audio file, should transcribe it, and then provide some waveform. We'll get there, but like it seems like there's some bug right now that I'm just trying to figure out. What should we keep the app front end only and add an on-demand browser independent decode path only when native. Do not add native. Add a backend service worker. Let's just lazy load it. Okay, so you can see here it's like. On the right-hand side, we've like spawned a bunch. So you've got like Agent 1, which is Parfit, the Explorer, Pierce is an Explorer, Aquinas is an Explorer. And so it did spawn the 5. I wonder if it's going to come back with basically the same result. I'm like really interested in what questions it asks. How should we plan the transcription request once an audio file is uploaded? Send the audio file to the transcription enable when available and treat browser decoding a separate concern for... Yeah, I think that's fine. I'm basically curious if like the single flow on the left here is as good as using multiple agents for this specific task. The reason why I keep looking at my watch is that I get notifications on my watch when when these things work. So I am getting these notifications every time it finishes. So it's going to come up with a plan on the left, and I'm going to compare it basically to the plan on the right when this thing finishes. Hopefully it is going to be fairly quick. It looks like it's going to get like this ffmpeg package. I think that's probably what I wanted. So the best fit is to accept lazy cost, pay the one-time cost only when native and show. Sure. Okay, so it's also figured out that it needs browser side transform path before touching the code, so the fix remains narrow. It's like also gonna look for ffmpeg here using Vite. I don't know why it picked the beta version of Next. That's really interesting. Not Codex, but okay. Another product decision. When a user uploads a new audio file, reset derived data. Yeah. I actually don't know if this is added in files, which would be another problem. I guess it did view. Yeah. Okay. The edges on the right, I realize, and are just editing straight up. Just like, hey, I don't want to wait around. I'm just going to work. I love that. I did not put this in plan mode, so it's probably my own grievance, but they are like super eager here. Like, look at this. Hey, I'm going to add a test. Hey, I'm going to add another test. Hey, I'm going to add a test. I've got the seems like the red suite is going to going in to put in some constraints. So I have this like concept of like red teams and green teams. Red teams basically just like fix the problem, like go like find the problem and build the test, and then you add a green team to go in and fix it basically. But you red team first, so you do like red, go write the tests and make sure they fail, and then like green basically. I'm not going to do this because we're going to see how the multiple agents work. So I'm going to close this and move to this. Just one thing like off the bat that I have noticed is that Codex is just far better for scrolling compared to Codex. Codex is far better at scrolling than Claude Code. I mean, with Claude Code, it just gets in an absolute mess. So hoping we can like fix this maybe in the next couple of minutes, hopefully, and then we can move on to the hopefully fixing some of the browser stuff. But like so far, it seems like it is wrote some tests. One thing which I've noticed is that it does implement scroll, but I can't go back for too far. It closed all these explorers down. So one nice thing is that these things were not kept on the main thread. They're going to make some small changes. Pardon me. Hopefully these tests work through pretty quickly. This isn't in a monorepo or anything, so it should be fairly straightforward. But I figured giving it like an audio task is might be useful for it essentially. Let's see if, so this is running here. I don't know if does Vite reload of hot reloading. Okay, so if I refresh this, are we good? Implemented compatibility import for M4A. Okay, so let's go try it. I'm gonna go choose an audio file. What just happened? Just lost everything. Not sure why. Okay. Let's do this. Z. What was the port from here? What the? Okay, that is a bug. Okay. Let me share this again. All right, let me get this window set up again. And I realize the timer is like completely ruined, so let's start again. I really hope the bug isn't with the timer because we're gonna hit this repeatedly. Don't think it is though. Okay, so I'm gonna choose a file. Where did that go? Okay, import compatibility with this wave is preview is approximately transcription. Okay, so hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. I'm gonna hit transcribe. I'm gonna go get my OpenAI key from somewhere else. And paste it in here. I'm going to hit transcribe, and this is like a smaller video, so hopefully smaller audio, so we'll see. I think we should don't see in the logs here, which is like slightly weird. It's taken a long time to transcribe would be my play button doesn't work. Okay, now I gotta go back here and probably continue to work on this. So Codex YOLO, we'll put it in plan mode this time, and we'll just be like, this just completely times out. So I have a skill called fixer here. Oops, whoa. Which is like fixing bugs. So I'm gonna say fixer run parallel agents, run use parallel agents to spawn a team of five subagents that will work to investigate this bug. Okay. The bug is where I upload a M4A file to this. It shows in the interface, but then just stays on transcribing for a long time. But it just worked. Wonderful. Okay. So now it should. So this is where it's at right now. There is like some features like I don't even know how to scroll. Basically, like I guess if I zoom in, can I scroll? Yeah, there we go. Okay, but I want it to scroll in where this red point is. So like this red lever I want to move around. So we're gonna go build that, I think. Okay, so let's kill this and use our grill me again skill. I'll just use audio. When I use and upload a video, I want to be able to move the red line of current state around. I additionally want, when I zoom, to zoom into where the red state is. So the use case is when I click on the timeline, it should jump the red line to that specific point on the timeline. Then also when I zoom in, it should also zoom to that point on the timeline too. The reason why I want to do this is that I want to make it easy for me to zoom and to move around on the timeline itself. Okay. Okay, so this is going, oops, I did not specify agents. So let's make sure I change that at the start. Spawn a, or use parallel subagents to spawn a team of 5 to explore, and it's to explore a feature improvement. Yeah, one which I noticed is that the there's no waveform here, but that doesn't actually matter for me. But I also noticed that the play button also doesn't even work. So even if I like zoom to here, like play doesn't even work. So what I'm gonna have to do is like wait till it finishes this feature probably, because it's probably going to make some changes to that click behavior. Then I can introduce a new change here. What's interesting here is you'll see that this is actually like using the mini models, which is super interesting. So they're like defaulting mini models to go do exploration. That is like so interesting that they like chose the mini models over GPT 5.4 to do these investigations. So hopefully this will come up with basically a good outcome. Okay, so we got some things here. Zoom recenters the viewport as the center. Zoom recenters the viewport. How does this work on DaVinci? Let me pull up DaVinci Resolve and see how it works there. Let's see. Okay, so after you click to move the red line, what should the zoom slider do? I don't think it should do any of this. No, it shouldn't move the viewport. It should just. What happens if I zoom in? Yeah, make it super tight. It should just. To that point in the timeline. When I zoom, though, I want it to zoom centered and change the viewport to center around it. Okay, so it looks like 2 agents are still running. Some have some questions for me. Okay, which zoom control should recenter? Slider and control, yes. So just a reminder, we're trying to like work on this thing. I'm gonna have to upload the thing again once it's built. Timeline interaction only. Is this feature only about the existing timeline? Yeah, just. This time they only have more questions for us. So scope is now narrowing. What should single clip behave on the scene? Clicking on an empty space in the background. Yeah, I think that's fine. All right, let's. The red line moves and to the time, and the new scene is created from that. What when you double click on an empty scene track? Sure. So this skill basically just grills me for a long time. You'll note that like we spent 20 minutes and it has just been going back and forth with me pretty much on these things, which just takes quite a lot of time. Okay, so switch to default and start coding. All right, I am gonna say I wish there was a way here for me to tune this plan, but instead I guess I have to like copy this. I don't know why I can't edit it, but okay. So I'm going to say write PRD or so this is going to basically like take this plan, create a GitHub issue for a PRD for this thing. Then it is going to like go, and then we're going to break and split these out. And this is going to take a long time, so bear with me. All right. Use the 4 modules identified in timeline. Sure. Yes, require this. All right, so it started to work on this plan. You can see that it produces these skills basically produce these things. So it's like, I want these things. It produces these user stories, some implementation details, some testing decisions. What's out of scope is these like some stuff, some further notes, and then I don't know if it actually created a GitHub issue. GitHub issues is because I'm still in plan mode. Okay, so I have to like take this, go here, shift to normal mode, then I run PRD to issues. And what this will do is it'll break this requirement stock into issues. I find this pretty useful. So like I've been experimenting with this, I guess, for the last 1 week, where I will use GitHub issues as like a factory for these things. So like any issue I just put into GitHub and I'll have it create these issues. Even documentation I'm now putting as GitHub issues, and then I can like use that to work. The reason why I think it's useful is that sometimes if you just have like a bunch of decision in the code base, I think docs are important in the code base. I'm not sure if decisions and the tree that they're in is like actually that valuable. So I think that I think it's useful. Anyway, it looks like we got this these issues. Not sure if the GitHub issues were created. Okay, so then I'm gonna run this, and we definitely need more time, so let's keep going. So I'm going to say test-driven development, spawn a, let's do this, spawn a, use parallel agents, parallel sub-agents to spawn a team of, let's just go crazy, of 10 to work through the tasks, the tickets, tasks we have here. I don't think I need to paste them, but like normally when I use code, when I use Claude Code, it gives me them, but like it doesn't look like they may have been created. So I'm just trying to make sure that it is all in this context. So this is going to the bulk of the work is going to happen hopefully today, where it'll like fix this, and I'll probably end it there because I'm like at least some period of time in here, and it is the weekend, so got other stuff to do. Okay, so it's going to use all of these different skills to execute, but it should, because I gave it this like, I said team of 10. Okay, so it's updated the plan, and then it's going to, I'm setting up a parallel team with disjointed membership engine math store policy. So we'll see how it does. Let's see. Okay. All right, I'm going to actually multitask here and eat some food while this runs. So I'm sure folks do not want to see me eat. All right, this is running now, I guess. Let's reload it. Run transcribe. All right, looks like this worked. And now we have zoom. Nice. Can I have scroll? Okay. I can now add scenes in here. But I cannot change the size of the scene, which is kind of annoying. So it went ahead and fixed this, which is kind of nice. So we now have this ability to click, and let's look at some of what it did. So it had some workers here. I don't know if it actually had the 10, but it seemed like it had some explorers here. So it's got, so it did have some of the workers. It had these 6 agents, broke it down. There was 4 workers, 2 explorers. I really like this notion of workers and explorers. We did not, not sure what's going on with this. We didn't really get much time to build more here, but I am out of time. I got some kid stuff to do. So what did we learn today? I guess firstly that like Codex is pretty nice. I really like some of the concepts, particularly the like this worker explorer thing. I think is like a pretty hidden secret about what they're doing. Probably underestimated how good it is. The whole like taking things off the main thread, I also think is just like a really neat way to think about this. So maybe to wrap this up, I'm really excited about these Codex subagents. It's not because I think one prompt is going to replace an entire engineering org. It's because there's like this workflow that sort of matches how like frankly like real work happens. The workers handle these bounded sort of jobs. The noisy stuff is sort of off the main thread. The results come back sort of distilled. And if you do this sort of decomposition right, you get this like cleaner context, cleaner task ownership, and often just like faster progress and kinds of like parallel builds that people do every day. And I think that's real. And there's some real trade-offs. Like we talk about more tokens, but I was so surprised that like the default agents for Codex are set to the mini models. Like just a great product decision, whoever made that. I think a lot of people appreciate that. It also offers some more coordination. So my take is basically that like single agent isn't necessarily dead, but it's becoming sort of the wrong default. And I don't know if people want to admit that. If you're building anything that naturally splits between research, implementation, and review, I think the Codex subagents or multi-agents are really worth giving a try, especially for like projects like this that you have like that you're trying to like fix something. And we needed to do some planning. Then this fixed like 2 pretty interesting bugs, right, in 20 or 30 minutes, where we fixed a bug with with uploading M4As, and it just like figured it out. And then it also figured out this like sort of complex UI pattern. And yeah, so I think this is like a interesting change, and I'm interested to try more things. So if you do have ideas, suggestions, please do reach out. I really do appreciate it. So many people just randomly message me, and I just appreciate that. If you spent any time watching this, I really, really appreciate it. And thank you. Be well.